Have you ever met a woman who seemed perfect at first, but over time something just didn't feel right? Her words were sweet, her attention intoxicating, but deep down, you felt uneasy. Almost like your gut was whispering a warning that your heart refused to hear. If you've ever felt that, stay with me, because what you're about to hear could save you months, maybe years of emotional pain. Today, we're uncovering 7 hidden signs that expose a woman completely. Signs that show when it's not love, it's control. Confusion and emotional danger disguised as affection. This isn't about hating women, it's about protecting your peace. So before we begin, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and watch this till the very end, because what I'm about to share might just change your love life forever. 1. She uses confusion as a weapon. Have you ever been in that kind of relationship where everything felt like a dream at first? Where she'd call you in the morning just to say, "I miss you already," and those words would hit you right in the heart. You'd go through your day thinking about her, the way she laughed, the way she looked at you, the way she made you feel like the only man in the world. But then, out of nowhere, she changed. You'd text her good morning and she wouldn't reply. You'd see her online but no response. Your mind starts spinning. Did I say something wrong? Did I upset her? Hours turn into silence, and just when you start deciding to pull back, she suddenly sends a message. "Hey, sorry, I've just been thinking a lot. I love you though." And just like that, your heart melts again. You forget the confusion. You forget the silence. You just want her affection back. Sound familiar? That's not love, brother. That's emotional control, a slow, quiet test to see how much power she has over your peace. See, most men think confusion means mystery, but it doesn't. Confusion means manipulation, because real love is steady. It's not supposed to make you feel anxious all the time. When a woman keeps switching between hot and cold, she's not complicated, she's strategic. She's teaching your nervous system to chase her by rewarding you with affection when you comply and punishing you with distance when you don't. It's psychological conditioning, the same method used to train behavior. And here's the dangerous part. You start falling deeper the more uncertain she becomes. You remember the good times, the first date, her laugh, her voice when she said, "You're different." You replay those moments like a movie in your head, convincing yourself that the real her is still there, somewhere beneath the mood swings and mixed signals. But that's exactly the trap. The confusion keeps you hooked. The uncertainty makes you invest more, emotionally, mentally, even physically, because you keep chasing the version of her that once made you feel like the luckiest man alive. And while you're busy chasing clarity, she's quietly studying your reactions. Every time you double text her, she learns that you fear losing her. Every time you apologize for something you didn't do, she learns you'll break your peace to keep her calm. And every time you stay, despite the chaos, she learns how far she can go before you finally walk away. You see, a woman who truly loves you won't test your emotions. She'll protect them. She won't punish you with silence. She'll communicate. She won't leave you guessing. She'll reassure you, but the one who thrives on confusion. She doesn't want peace. She wants control, because confusion gives her power. And here's where Stoicism becomes your shield. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that you can't control what others do, only how you respond. And in love, that means this. You can't stop her from playing games, but you can stop playing along. So the next time she goes quiet for no reason, don't chase. When she tries to make you feel guilty for asking for clarity, don't apologize. Just pause, observe, stay calm. Because silence, when used with strength, is the loudest response to manipulation. Remember, real love brings peace to your mind, not storms to your soul. If she keeps you guessing more than she keeps you smiling, that's not love, that's control. And when you recognize that, don't argue, don't explain, don't fight for understanding, just run. Because the moment you stop reacting, her power disappears, and your peace returns. 2. She never takes responsibility. She's always the victim. Do you remember that moment when you first met her? When she looked you in the eyes and said, "I've just been through so much, but you feel different. You felt something in your chest, didn't you? That soft, protective urge. The thought that maybe, just maybe, you could be the one who finally treats her right. She told you stories about her exes, how they lied, cheated, broke her heart. You felt bad for her. You thought, she deserves peace. She deserves love. I'll give her that. And at first, it feels beautiful. She opens up, cries on your shoulder, tells you you're the only one she trusts. You feel like her safe place, like her hero. But then slowly, something shifts. One night, she snaps at you for something small. Maybe you forgot to reply fast enough, or you didn't notice her new outfit. You try to explain yourself, but she cuts you off. You don't care about me like you used to, or you're just like everyone else. And suddenly, you find yourself apologizing, even when you didn't do anything wrong. That's how it starts. She turns every situation into proof that she's the victim and you're the problem. If she's late, it's because you stressed her out. If she flirts with another guy, it's because you made her feel ignored. If she lies, it's because you made her insecure. No matter what happens, she always has a reason that somehow puts the blame back on you. At first, you try to be patient. You think, she's been hurt before. Maybe I just need to show her consistent love. But what you don't realize is that this pattern has nothing to do with her past. It's about her mindset. She's built her entire identity around being wronged. She's addicted to sympathy because sympathy brings control. The more guilty you feel, the more she feels powerful. The more you try to fix things, the more she knows she can manipulate the narrative. And slowly you start changing. You walk on eggshells. You stop speaking your truth because you don't want to hurt her feelings. You start thinking before every text, every call, every word, just to avoid another explosion. You become smaller in your own life, trying to fit into the fragile story she's written about herself. But here's the harsh truth. You can't heal someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own emotions. A woman who always plays the victim doesn't want peace. She wants validation. She wants someone to constantly remind her that she's right, even when she's wrong. And that's where men lose themselves. Because when you keep rescuing her from every consequence, she never learns accountability, and you end up carrying both your pain and hers. Let me ask you, how many times have you forgiven someone who never even said sorry? How many times have you explained your intentions to someone who never tried to understand them? And how many nights have you laid awake, replaying an argument in your mind, wondering how love turned into walking on broken glass? You see, when a woman refuses to take responsibility, she's not loving you. She's using you as an emotional mirror. You become the one she projects her insecurities onto. And the longer you stay, the more you start believing her story. You start doubting yourself. You start asking, maybe I am the problem. That's how emotional manipulation works. Slowly, quietly, until your self-worth starts fading. But a stoic man, a grounded man, learns to see through that fog. He doesn't argue, he observes. He doesn't defend himself endlessly. He lets actions reveal truth. Because once you stop trying to prove your innocence, you'll see the truth clearly. Some people don't want understanding. They want control through sympathy. So, when you find yourself always apologizing, always blamed, always walking on eggshells, it's not love. It's emotional captivity. And when you recognize that pattern, you don't need to fight. You simply walk away with calmness, because silence is the only thing that can't be twisted into guilt. Remember, the moment you stop carrying the weight of her blame, you get to carry something far more valuable, your peace. And that, my friend, is the real freedom Stoicism teaches. 3. She loves drama more than peace. Have you ever been in a relationship where everything feels peaceful for a few days, but then, out of nowhere, she finds something to fight about? Maybe it's a message you forgot to reply to. Maybe it's a joke you made weeks ago. Or maybe it's just the silence itself that bothers her. Suddenly, what was calm turns into chaos. And you stand there thinking, how did we get here again? If that sounds familiar, listen carefully. Because what you're dealing with is not love. It's addiction, an addiction to drama. You see, some women have become so used to emotional chaos that peace actually feels boring to them. When things get calm, they start to crave the high of conflict, the rush of tension, the feeling of being emotionally alive. And they don't even realize it consciously. It's like an emotional reflex. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." But when a woman's thoughts are filled with fear, insecurity, or unresolved trauma, peace doesn't feel safe. Chaos does. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Daniel. He met a woman named Alina. Beautiful, passionate, full of life. At first, her fire was exciting. She'd laugh loudly, talk for hours, and say things like, "I love how peaceful you are. You calm me." But as months passed, Daniel began to notice something strange. Every time things were going well, she'd pick a fight. It could be something as small as him not replying fast enough, or not noticing her new haircut. Once she even started crying because he didn't post her photo online. At first he tried to fix it. He thought, maybe she just needs reassurance, so he gave more. More time, more attention, more apologies. But no matter how much he gave, it was never enough. The calm always turned into a storm. And here's the truth. It wasn't Daniel's lack of love that caused the chaos. It was her addiction to emotional highs and lows. People like that are not at peace within themselves. Their emotions are constantly searching for something to react to, something to feel deeply about, even if it's pain. Because pain gives them identity. It gives them control. And the saddest part? If you try to bring peace into their world, they'll often push it away. Because peace exposes what they're running from, their own inner emptiness. Now think about your own experiences. Have you ever dated someone who always seemed to find a reason to argue, even when you were trying to love them, right? Someone who said they wanted stability but kept creating storms. Someone who turned small misunderstandings into emotional battles that drained your spirit. If so, my friend, you've met a woman who loves drama more than peace. A Stoic man understands that peace is the highest form of strength. He doesn't chase emotional highs or react to every provocation. He values silence, control, and balance. But to someone addicted to chaos, that calm energy feels threatening. They'll try to provoke you, just to make sure they still have power over your emotions. Marcus Aurelius taught that you have power over your mind, not outside events. The same applies to your relationship. You cannot control her chaos, but you can control whether you allow it into your peace. Daniel eventually realized that love should feel calm, not confusing. It should bring clarity, not anxiety. The day he stopped reacting, she grew louder, angrier, and eventually left. But in that silence after she walked away, he felt something he hadn't felt in months. Freedom. That's what you must understand. A woman who thrives on drama will never let you rest. She'll pull you into her emotional storm, test your patience, and drain your strength until you forget who you were before her. And if you're a man who's trying to build purpose, focus, and peace, you cannot afford to live in that kind of emotional prison. Because love that constantly needs chaos is not love. It's emotional warfare disguised as passion. So remember this, when peace starts feeling uncomfortable, you're with the wrong person, because real love doesn't make you anxious. It makes you calm, and that calm, that's what a Stoic man protects with everything he's got. For she competes with you, not supports you. Have you ever been in a relationship where every time you tried to grow, every time you made a small win, instead of being proud of you, she seemed bothered? Maybe you got a promotion at work. Maybe you started hitting the gym. Maybe people started respecting you more. And instead of celebrating, she got distant, sarcastic, or even angry. If that's happened to you, my friend, you've experienced one of the most toxic dynamics a man can ever face. When a woman stops being your supporter and starts being your competitor. This story might sound familiar. There was a man named Adil. He was ambitious, grounded, and quietly confident. He met a woman, Sarah, who loved that about him. She used to say things like, "You inspire me. You make me want to be better." At first, it felt beautiful, like they were a team. They'd talk about goals, dreams, the future. Adil believed they were growing together. But slowly he started noticing small cracks in the bond. When he'd share a success, her face wouldn't light up anymore. Instead, she'd say something like, "Must be nice. I wish I had that kind of luck." When he'd focus on his goals, she'd accuse him of not giving her enough attention. And when people complimented him in public, she'd suddenly turn cold and withdrawn, as if his shine threatened her sense of importance. That's when he realized she didn't want to grow with him. She wanted to compete with him. You see, a high-value woman feels inspired by her man's success. She celebrates it. She sees his rise as their rise. But a low-value woman sees it as a threat. To her, love isn't partnership, it's comparison. And the reason runs deep in psychology. When a woman's self-worth is fragile, your strength reminds her of her own weaknesses. Instead of admiring your growth, she resents it. Because deep down, she fears being left behind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When someone tries to harm you, see it as they are harming themselves, for their actions stem from ignorance." In this context, her competitiveness is not just about ego. It's about insecurity. But if you don't recognize it early, it can destroy your peace, your focus, and your purpose. Let's go back to a deal. The more he tried to reassure her, the worse it got. If he spent time at work, she'd guilt-trip him. If he took time for self-improvement, she'd say he was changing. And every success he achieved became another reason for her to argue or withdraw. Until one day he realized he was dimming his own light just to keep her comfortable in the shadows. And that's when everything changed. Because when a man lowers himself just to keep someone else's insecurities at peace, he loses his masculine edge. He becomes smaller, quieter, more hesitant, until he forgets who he was before her. That's not love. That's emotional sabotage. So let me ask you, has your love ever made you shrink instead of grow? Have you ever held back your potential just to keep someone else happy? Have you ever felt like your success was a problem in your own relationship? If yes, that's not your soulmate. That's your silent rival. True feminine energy doesn't compete with masculine energy. It balances it. It flows with it. A woman in her feminine doesn't fear her man's strength. She feels safe in it. But a woman stuck in competition will constantly test you. She'll challenge your authority, mock your goals, and try to prove she's better. It's not about love. It's about control. The Stoic man doesn't fall for this game. He understands that love should elevate both people, not create silent wars. He chooses peace over ego battles, progress over validation, and truth over manipulation. And here's the twist. When you stop competing with her and start focusing back on your mission, she'll either rise with you or expose her true colors. Adil did just that. He stopped explaining his vision and simply started living it. And in that silence, Sarah revealed everything. Instead of growing, she started criticizing. Instead of supporting, she started comparing. So he walked away, not out of anger but out of clarity, because he realized real love doesn't feel like a battlefield. A Stoic man understands that his purpose comes before his pride, and his peace comes before his partner, because without peace, no relationship can survive. So remember this. If she can't celebrate your wins, she doesn't deserve to share your success. And if she sees your growth as competition, she was never truly on your team. Real love isn't a race. It's two people walking side by side, not one trying to outrun the other. 5. She tests you to see how much pain you'll tolerate. Have you ever loved someone so much that you kept forgiving things that broke you? Maybe she ignored your texts for days. Maybe she flirted just to make you jealous. Maybe she pushed you away just to see if you'd chase her. And even when your gut whispered, "This isn't right," your heart still said, "Be patient, maybe she'll change." If you've ever felt that, you've experienced one of the most subtle, yet dangerous behaviors a woman can display, testing how much pain you're willing to take before you finally walk away. Let me tell you the story of Amir. Amir was a calm, kind man, the type of guy who believed that love means patience, understanding, and forgiveness. He met a woman named Layla. At first, she was everything he ever wanted. Charming, affectionate, almost too perfect. But then the tests began. At first they were small. She'd go silent for hours just to see if he'd double text. She'd cancel plans at the last minute, pretending it was no big deal. When he looked upset, she'd smile and say, "Why are you so emotional? Can't you handle a strong woman?" Every time Amir brushed it off. He thought love meant staying calm, proving he was strong enough to handle her mood swings. But the tests got darker. One day she openly flirted with another man in front of him at a party, just to see how he'd react. When he stayed composed, she laughed and said, "Wow, you really don't care about me, do you?" And that's when it hit him. No matter how he reacted, she'd twist it. Because she wasn't looking for peace. She was looking for power. You see, some women test not out of curiosity, but out of insecurity. They want to know, how much can I get away with before he finally stands up for himself? It's not love they're testing, it's your boundaries. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And being a good man doesn't mean being endlessly forgiving. It means knowing when enough is enough. Because here's the truth. When you keep tolerating pain, you're not proving your love. You're teaching her how to treat you. A woman who truly respects you doesn't need to test your loyalty through manipulation. She doesn't need to play games to feel desired. But a woman who fears losing control will always test how far she can push before you break. And here's where most men fall into the trap. They think these tests are just emotional phases. They believe, if I stay calm, she'll realize I'm different. But she doesn't. She learns that your silence means permission. Let me ask you, how many times have you stayed quiet when she disrespected you? How many times have you accepted behavior that left you feeling small because you didn't want to overreact? Those moments matter, because each time you allow disrespect, you lose a piece of your masculine frame. You lose self-respect, and without that, love turns into submission. Amir learned this the hard way. The night she insulted him in front of friends and laughed about it later, something inside him snapped, not out of anger, but clarity. He realized he had mistaken patience for weakness. So the next morning he didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't explain. He simply walked away, and that silence, that was the loudest statement he ever made. Because here's the lesson every Stoic man must understand. A woman who constantly tests you isn't checking your strength. She's challenging your self-worth. Real love doesn't need tests. It needs trust. It needs mutual respect. A Stoic man knows that boundaries are not walls, they're shields. They protect your energy, your purpose, and your peace. So if she keeps testing how much pain you'll tolerate, stop showing her how much you can take and start showing her where your line is. Because the moment you stop reacting to her games, you reclaim your power. And that's when she'll realize the strongest man isn't the one who endures everything. It's the one who walks away the first time he's disrespected. Remember this, a woman may test you, but it's your reaction that defines you. Stand firm in silence, and you'll teach her something no words ever could. That peace is priceless, and your heart is not a playground. 6. She uses her beauty to manipulate you. Have you ever looked into her eyes and felt like logic just disappeared? Like no matter what she said, one smile, one soft touch, one baby, don't be mad, and suddenly all your anger, all your principles, all your boundaries melted away? If you've ever been there, then you already know beauty can be powerful. But in the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon. There's a certain kind of woman who knows exactly what her charm does to a man. She knows that her beauty makes people forgive her faster, trust her sooner, and doubt themselves quicker. And she uses that, not to love, but to control. Let me tell you the story of Arman. Arman wasn't naive. He was intelligent, focused, and calm, a man who lived by discipline. But when he met Maya, everything changed. She had that magnetic glow, the kind of woman who made the entire room stop when she walked in. Her laughter, her perfume, her confidence, it was hypnotic. At first, she seemed innocent. She'd say things like, "You're the only one who really understands me," or "I've never felt this kind of connection before." And when she smiled, Armand believed her. He fell hard, but slowly he started to see the cracks. Every time he set a boundary, she'd use her beauty to blur it. If he said no, she'd lean in, touch his hand and whisper, "You're so serious, relax a little." If he confronted her about a lie, she'd cry, look down with trembling lips and say, "I thought you trusted me." And every time his anger faded. She knew his weakness, not because he was foolish, but because he was human. She understood the ancient truth. A man's logic is strongest until his emotions are triggered by desire. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But the woman who uses beauty as manipulation knows how to bypass your mind. She doesn't argue, she enchants. She doesn't confront, she seduces. And before you know it, you're not thinking anymore. You're just reacting. This is how men lose themselves, not through betrayal, but through subtle emotional hypnosis. Maya wasn't evil. She was simply a master of emotional leverage. When Armand pulled away, she'd suddenly become vulnerable. When he came closer, she'd act distant again. It was a dance, and she always led. Until one day he realized something painful. He had stopped being himself around her. He stopped setting goals, stopped focusing on his mission, stopped thinking clearly, because every time he tried to rise, she'd draw him back into her spell with a kiss, a tear, or a whisper that made him forget why he ever doubted her. That's when he finally saw the truth. She didn't love him for who he was. She loved the power she had over him. You see, my friend, when a woman uses her beauty to manipulate, it's not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like love. Sometimes it feels like connection. But deep down, it's about control. She knows that your masculine energy seeks to protect and please her. So she uses that instinct against you. She rewards you when you obey, withdraws when you resist, and watches how much of yourself you're willing to sacrifice just to keep her happy. But a Stoic man knows beauty is temporary, but peace is eternal. He doesn't worship the surface. He looks at the soul behind the smile. Because beauty that manipulates is poison disguised as perfume. It looks sweet, but it suffocates your purpose. Let me ask you, how many times have you forgiven someone because she looked so sad? How many times have you let your boundaries slide because her tears or charm made you feel guilty? That's not love. That's emotional control wearing the mask of femininity. Marcus Aurelius would remind us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts revolve around chasing her, approval instead of living your truth, you'll start to fade. Armand finally woke up one night when he realized something profound. He missed himself, the man he used to be before her, the man who had dreams, purpose, and discipline. So he stepped back. No arguments, no goodbyes, just silence. And in that silence, Maya lost her power. Because beauty can attract, but it cannot control a man who's mastered his emotions. So remember this: admire beauty, but don't worship it. Appreciate her charm, but never lose your center. Because the moment you let her beauty cloud your judgment, you've handed her the keys to your peace. A Stoic man stays calm in the presence of temptation. He sees beyond appearances. He values energy over elegance, depth over desire. And when a woman realizes she can't control him with beauty, she either grows into real love or fades away into the illusions she created. So guard your focus, protect your peace, because the man who cannot be manipulated by beauty cannot be controlled by anyone. 7. She pulls you away from your purpose. Do you remember what your life looked like before her? Your goals, your routine, your discipline, the hunger in your chest when you woke up every morning knowing you were chasing something that mattered? Now ask yourself honestly, where did that version of you go? Because for many men, the slowest kind of destruction doesn't come from heartbreak. It comes from distraction. And one of the most dangerous types of women you can ever love is the one who pulls you away from your purpose, not by force, but by making you forget who you were before her. Let me tell you a story about a man named Saad. Saad was focused, the kind of man who woke up early, worked on his business, and trained his body and mind with military discipline. He didn't chase women, he chased improvement, until he met her, Noor. She was magnetic, soft-spoken, and full of life. She said all the right things. "I love a man with ambition. I admire your focus." And for a while she truly did. But as the months passed, she began to compete with his mission for attention. When he stayed late at work, she'd say, "You care more about your career than me." When he wanted to train early, she'd pout, "Can't you skip the gym for one day? Just stay in bed with me." When he spent quiet hours planning his future, she'd roll her eyes. "You're always so serious. Can't you just live a little?" At first, Saad thought she just missed him, so he compromised. One gym day missed. On late nights spent texting. One morning where he slept in instead of working on his goals. But what starts as one small compromise turns into a pattern. And what starts as love turns into dependency. Before long, Saad wasn't the man he used to be. He stopped pushing himself. He started justifying laziness in the name of love. He lost that spark, that masculine fire that once defined him. And the tragic part, Noor didn't even realize what she'd done. She didn't need to destroy him. She just needed to distract him. Because here's the truth. When a man loses focus, he loses himself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." Your purpose, your mission, is the foundation of your masculine energy. It's what gives your life direction, meaning, and discipline. But a woman who doesn't understand, that will try to pull you into her emotional world, she'll want you to orbit around her, not your goals. And the moment you start doing that, she'll lose respect for you, even if she doesn't admit it. That's the paradox. She thinks she wants all your attention, but the moment she gets it, she starts to feel something missing, because a man without purpose doesn't radiate power anymore. He becomes needy, clingy, reactive, the very opposite of what attracted her in the first place. It's not her fault entirely. It's yours if you forget your center. A Stoic man understands that love should add to his purpose, not replace it. He knows that a relationship is not the destination, it's the companion on the journey. So let me ask you, how many dreams have you delayed because of love? How many projects have you abandoned because she said you were too busy? How many times have you silenced your ambition just to keep peace in your relationship? That's not love. That's slow self-sabotage. The woman who truly loves you will never compete with your mission. She'll remind you of it when you forget. She'll understand that your purpose isn't a threat to her. It's what makes you you. But the woman who fears your independence will always try to pull you closer. Not because she loves you deeply, but because she's afraid of losing control. Saad learned this when he finally looked in the mirror one morning and realized he didn't recognize the man staring back. He had become comfortable, soft, aimless, and the worst part, he had done it willingly. That day he made a decision to reclaim his purpose. He didn't break up with her in anger. He just shifted his focus back to where it belonged, his mission, his vision, his discipline. And when he did, something interesting happened. Noor became restless. She felt him pulling away, not because he stopped loving her, but because he stopped needing her validation. And that's when her true nature showed. Instead of supporting his growth, she resented it. So he walked away, not from her, but from the version of himself that she had made him forget. And that's what every Stoic man must do. Because if you lose your purpose, you lose your power. And when you lose your power, you lose the respect of both yourself and the woman beside you. So remember this. A woman who truly values you will push you toward greatness, not comfort. She'll stand beside your fire, not smother it. Because love should never make you forget your mission. It should make you stronger for it. And if she can't walk beside your purpose, then you must keep walking alone. Closing reflection. Maybe as you listened, you felt something deep in your chest. Maybe you realized you've been through this before. You've loved someone who drained your peace, tested your patience, and made you question your worth. You gave everything: time, emotion, loyalty, hoping she'd finally see your value. But here's the truth, brother. You were never supposed to prove your worth to someone who was busy trying to control it. Stoicism isn't about being cold or detached. It's about emotional mastery. It's knowing when to give love freely and when to walk away for your own sanity. If she confuses you, drains you, competes with you, or disconnects you from your purpose, she's already showing you who she is. And when you see it clearly, your next move becomes simple. Not revenge, not hate, just distance. Because the most powerful response to manipulation is peace. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.